Show of the Week.
Welcome back to Show of the Week, the weekly segment where we talk musical theater and where I wear flannel. It's like a book club for musical theater. This week, I want to talk to you about the show Working. If you haven't crossed paths with Working yet, it's, well, you got to spend more time in educational musical theater. This is a very often produced piece of educational theater, and I think it's a great one. It's a little more than a song cycle. There's a through line that takes us through the whole thing, or at least a theme, which we'll talk about in a second. I guess that does kind of make it a song cycle. I don't know. People will say, this is a show by Stephen Schwartz, and it is, but it's by a lot of people, and I needed to write them down. So it's got a book by Stephen Schwartz and Nina Faso, music by Stephen Schwartz, Craig Carnelia, Mickey Grant, Mary Rogers, James Taylor, yes, that one, and then later songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, lyrics by all of the above, and then also Susan Birkenhead. A whole bunch of people. Schwartz called up a bunch of people and like, hey, come on, let's adapt this book and put it into a show. The book, Working, by Studs Terkel. It's a big one. It's the kind of book you can I have been hopping around in, because it is like 700 pages, 589 pages. Studs Terkel is a comedy writer, radio personality, book writer. But he wrote this book it's based on a bunch of interviews with people who work, about their jobs, about how they spend their lives. And it is about how they spend their lives. It's not about careers explicitly. Working has been on my mind a lot recently because we are kind of seeing, this interesting shift in the workforce. Whenever I open my Apple News to do the crossword, I have to scroll past something about the economy or jobs. And, I don't know if I haven't clocked these topics before because I was willfully ignoring them and like I'm an adult now, or if this is something new. But I do know, right? Like, how people work post-COVID has changed, and it is interesting to kind of go through a piece, Working the book and Working the musical, because it is a contemplation on how people feel about what they do. And as I said, sort of a song cycle, sort of not. We follow people who work in different jobs or do different things with their lives. So from a delivery person to a waitress to people who take care of the elderly, to people who take care of kids, to secretaries and assistants and firefighters and retirees and housewives, and kind of also expanding, is that a loaded term? What does that mean? It explores how people feel about job, capital J job, what you do with your life. It's nuanced, it's interesting, there's a lot to dive into. It's dated. There are parts of this show that still, to me, right now, ring is like straight up racist, but it's also, right, you read the book and it is what people said. Not that justifies being racist at all, but it is a time capsule of these particular, of these people, of how they viewed the world. And, that's what Terkel does very well, right? He's known for kind of shining a light on the undersung people around you. It is a window into the every person's world. And the musical tries to do the same. And the songs are catchy. The songs are great. They're varied. You end up with a laundry list of people who've written the songs. And even for being such a diverse group of songwriters, there is a nice musical through line that I think holds the whole thing together. It feels like one piece. It doesn't have that multiple author trap that some other shows fall into, where like each song is so individually that music writer's style that it feels like a cabaret. Like, this feels like a cohesive piece. And it's one that's been rewritten and rearranged 1,000 times. The recording you should listen to is from 2018. It's a London cast recording. It's the most updated one. It's the one that you can prove. It's the easiest one to license these days. Speaking of that, the updated libretto, MTI, at least for now, has posted the entire libretto of the most revised, most recent edition of the working script. I'll put a link wherever I can. Hopefully it'll stick around for a while. I'm sure we're going to freak MTI out when they get a bunch of traffic to this website. But go I encourage you to go take a read of it if you're bored doing whatever you're doing right now. Need a break at work, maybe. Reading a script of a musical and listening along is an exercise that everyone in musical theater will end up doing at some point in their life. We spend the whole artistic endeavor is taking the text on the page and turning it into something on the stage. And so being able to think about that process is an important exercise. This one is convenient because working lives right here. It's also one that I think a lot of people, if you're like me, right, your first experience with a lot of musicals is through a cast album. And Working is an interesting show to also be able to read the libretto along next to, because a lot of the plot, if you call it that, there are pieces of the show, of this song cycle, that won't elucidate themselves just through the cast album. Elucidate? I think that's right. Read this show if you can, or skim through it. It's exactly what you'd expect. With all the songs, there are similar monologues, all taken from individual stories from the book, that are about individual working folks' stories. And I think an interesting exercise for the comments would be find a passage of the show, a part of the show, a character of the show that is not sung. Find something in this that perhaps isn't even related to one of the songs on the album, as it were. And I think it is interesting to ask the question, why isn't this moment sung? There's this oft-repeated truism in musical theater, writing and performing in discourse, that like in musical theater, emotions bubble up in the text until they are so great that a character can't help but sing, and then they'll sing until they can't help but dance, and like that kind of escalates and then de-escalates a character's emotional output. You know, you ride the roller coaster up, and then eventually you pass some threshold and now we're singing, and then you pass another threshold and now we're singing or dancing, and then you follow the drop back down all along the same way. We stop dancing, we sing some more, and then we stop singing, and then we go back to the text of the show. A lot of shows work like that, but not all shows work like that, and I think it's interesting to unpack that. I'm doing my own homework too. There is, so if you know the album but don't know the libretto, at least in the updated one, after Joe's song, which is fantastic. Joe's a retiree, and he's talking about living his life and the good old days, as it were. That's a beautiful song. We cut to a character called Tom, who is contemplating his life as a firefighter. And Tom's existence in this show only exists in this monologue. Tom doesn't sing. And you should read this monologue. It's on page 45 in the NTI script that's linked. And I think upon reading it, it at least felt straightforward to me why this isn't a song. There is something more emotionally intense about the stuff that Tom is talking about. I don't want to spoil it for you. I would like you to read it. And because of the nature of the stuff that Tom is talking about, it would feel maybe even almost disrespectful to put it in a song. And so it is interesting to me that it lives not as a song, but as a monologue. You know, it breaks that roller coaster convention. This character, maybe they're not getting so emotional that they can't help but sing. Maybe they are. I don't know. It's kind of a powerful monologue. But certainly the subject matter is of a level of import that justifies not singing it. And I think that's a thing that Working does a bunch. So that's your assignment, America, or wherever you are. Oh, I said that. And I do know why I said that. It's because I watched a lot of America's Funniest Home Videos growing up.
That's it for tonight. So don't forget your assignment, America. Baby's first haircut. This is Bob Saget saying keep those cameras rolling and have a good week. Honey, I'm coming home. I've done my time.
What was I? That's your assignment. In the comments, find a passage of Working, of the libretto, that isn't sung, and let's have a discussion. Why isn't this part sung? Maybe it is a part in the middle of a song, but this part's spoken. Or maybe it is a whole nother beat or paragraph that another character says that's not sung. Why, when they were song spotting this show in this book, there's a lot to spot in here, why didn't they make this a song? Contemplate it. Reply to other people, please. If you have a particular passage, keep your cameras on. This is a classroom. Add your passage in there or give us a page number so we can find it in the MTI script. I don't know. I think that's fun, but I'm a teacher, so. Also, if you can, I don't know if you want to read this book. It's fine. I find it a little dry in the most part. The musical is much better, but there is a, I don't know, it's one of those Broadway Theater Archive recordings of this show. This is a video. These are impossible to find. It was like, I think PBS put it together, or it feels like they did, in '82. It is for screen. It's for TV. It's not a staged version. It's not like a recording of something on stage. It's not the updated version, so there's differences in here, which is also fun. I think if you can find clips of this, or if you can find this maybe at your library or something, you're going to be surprised by some of the names in here. I'll leave that as an exercise for the reader as well. Thank you, as always, to my patrons on Patreon, whose names are schwizzing past my face at this point. If you want to decide a show that we, all of us will listen to for Show of the Week, there's a way you can do that over on Patreon. There's a new slot over there where you can add your suggestions for what we should cover in Show of the Week, and then we'll vote on them, and then by the end of the month, we'll be right here talking about... I'm scared and nervous and excited to see what you all pick. Also, shout-outs to Kelly Lynn Hayes, who helped me work through and contemplate this musical for a little bit a couple months ago with the... I don't know, perhaps foolish idea of making a digital musical out of it. Kelly is a fantastic digital theater practitioner. Check out their stuff. I'll put a link. And Kelly, sorry for springing this on you. I hope you everyone brings you love because you deserve so much love. I think I did it. I think that's all of it. Yeah. I'll see you next week.